तमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति।
Chapter 2, verses 51 to 60. कर्मजं बुद्धियुक्ताहि परं त्यक्त्वा मनीषिणः जन्मबन्धविनिर्मुक्ताः परं गच्छन्त्यनामयम्। यदा ते मोहकलिलं बुद्धिर्व्यतितरिष्यति तदा गन्तासि वेदम्। श्रोतव्यस्य श्रुतस्य च श्रुतिभिः प्रतिपन्ना ते यदा स्थास्यति निश्चला समाधावचला बुद्धिः तदा योगमवाप्स्यसि। अर्जुन उवाच स्थितप्रज्ञस्य का भाषा समाधिस्तस्य केशव। स्थितधि किं प्रभाषेत किमासीत व्रजेत किम्। श्रीभगवानुवाच प्रजहाति यदा कामान् सर्वान् पार्थमनोगतान् आत्मन्येवात्मना तुष्टः स्थितप्रज्ञस्तदोच्यते। दुःखेष्वनुद्विग्नमनाः सुखेषु विगतस्पृहः वीतरागभयक्रोधः चिरधीर्मुनिरुच्यते। यत्सर्वत्रानभिस्नेहः तत्तत्प्राप्य शुभाशुभम्। नाभिनन्दति न द्वेष्टि तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता। यदा संहरते चायं कूर्मोऽङ्गानीव सर्वशः इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेभ्यः तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता। विषयाभिनिवर्तन्ते निराहारस्य देहिनः तदवर्जं गतो यस्य परं दृष्ट्वा निवर्तते। यततो ह्यपि कौन्तेय पुरुषस्य विपश्चितः इन्द्रियाणि प्रमादेनि हरन्ति प्रसभं मनः।
Describe the one of steady wisdom. How does he speak? How does he sit? How does he walk? That's the question. The first question is, describe a self-realized person. If someone has reached that state, what is he like? What is his nature? Second question, how does he speak? How does he express himself? How does he express himself means, what is his general conduct in life? How does he conduct himself in life? First question is, what is his nature? What is he like? Second question is, what is his general conduct in life? That is, what is meant by how does he speak? The third question, how does he sit? What is happening within him? Inside of him, what is happening? One is an external behavior. How does he conduct himself? Second is, what is his inner nature. The fourth question, how does he walk, is how does he react with external environments and events? How he reacts to situations outside. These are the questions. He is not saying all this. He is only using one word. From the words that he uses, that's what he is asking. So the 4 verses Krishna answers all the 4 questions. So the first question is, what is his nature? That's where we left last week. When one completely casts off all desires of the mind and is satisfied in the self, by the self, then one is said to be of steady wisdom. The opposite of wisdom is wavering mind. Mind by nature is wavering. Mind by nature doesn't stay at a place. It cannot stay in a place. By nature it's moving, it's wavering. That mind, that wandering aspect, that wavering aspect has been brought to a state of stillness. That's what he means, a steady wisdom. Wisdom doesn't mean that he has become very knowledgeable. Previously he was ignorant, now he has become, now he is very knowledgeable. Previously he doesn't know how to speak, now he can very eloquently speak. That's not wisdom. The wavering mind has been stopped. 2 parts to the answer. First one is completely casts off all desires from the mind. Second is satisfied in the self, by the self. Satisfied in the self, by the self is very difficult to comprehend. At least theoretically you can conceive, okay, all desires are cast off. Satisfied in the self, by the self. Now உடனே இன்ஸ்டியூட்ல ஒரு குரூப் டிஸ்கஷன் போட்டிருக்கிறாங்க. How is it possible? Does it really, அப்படி உண்மையிலே ஏதாவது இருக்குதா? Is it possible? Because that is very difficult to comprehend. What is it? What is satisfied in the self, by the self? A satisfaction arises, all the satisfaction that the mind knows is always through association with something. All the satisfaction, all the joy, all the happiness that the mind knows is always through association with something. That association itself brings about a sense of happiness. A company brings an association. A company brings satisfaction, happiness. Here is a person who is happy without any association, without any company. That's what it means. What is the association means? ஒன்னில்லாம அட்லீஸ்ட் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஒரு half an hour newspaper படிச்சா கூட போறோம் சார். Just to know what is happening in the world around. Otherwise, I am not really interested. But being in the world, we should know what's happening around. So much you have known what is happening around, it didn't make any difference. Why to know something more? A company, an association brings about a satisfaction. Always. Satisfied in the self, by the self means minus association, minus anything, he is happy. What brings this state of contentment? When he has cast away all desires. Since he has cast away all desires of the mind, he is happy within himself. Now, casting away desires is the negative way of saying it. Happy within himself is the positive way of saying it. Both means the same. Casting of the desires gives the implication of renunciation, giving up. Being contented gives the indication of giving up. Giving up is a pain. If you have tried to give up something, you will know how giving up is not a pleasurable thing. You try to give up something, it will not be a pleasurable thing. Why it will not be a pleasurable thing? Because in the beginning you took it. In the beginning you took it with the hope of happiness. That it will bring happiness, it will bring joy, it will bring contentment. With that hope only you take up something. Now, if you have to give up means, what have you to give up? What are you to give up? You are not going to derive any happiness out of it. You are not going to derive any contentment out of it. Is what has to be given up. Not the object, not the being. If you have tried it, you will know how painful it is. It is easy to give up an object. It is easy to run away from a being. It is easy to escape from a situation. But to give up the hope is almost impossible. Even before you are deluded with one thing, the hope is developed on the other thing. Even before you said, oh my God, this is not it. Even before you give up something, your hope would have shifted to something else. Therefore, you keep giving up objects and beings, one set of objects and one set of beings, and move into another set of objects, another set of beings, and the movement is continuous. That which keeps the movement is the hope. What is the hope? With this, I'll be happy. Or, my happiness is only on this. Are you able to follow? My happiness is only on this. Since your happiness is on this, you turn possessive over it. It's not that you are possessive to any object or being, for you can't get possessive to any object or being. You can only get possessive to your own what? You can't get possessive over any object or being, but then it looks like you are so possessive over an object or an being. It's not that you are possessive over that object or an being. You are possessive over what? Correct. That hopes. That conviction that happiness is only through this. Since my happiness is only through this, cling on to it. The moment you realize that your happiness is not anymore on that, you leave that object. Actually, you are not leaving that object. Your hope from this object has shifted to another object. That's all. Your hope from this being has shifted to another being. Therefore, right through there is a state of discontentment even though you are leaving objects and beings. Able to follow? To correct that misunderstanding of renunciation, the second statement he says, he is contented in the self, by the self. A magnificent definition of who is the Siddhaprajna. You follow? You follow what I am saying? Slightly subtle. ஆனால் நல்ல ஈஸியாக இருக்குது சார் புரிஞ்சுக்கிறதுக்குன்னா ஐ டோன்ட் நோ. Again, casting off desires implies leaving objects and beings. You can leave an object, you can leave a being, but what you can't leave? The hope that your happiness is through object and being only. Now, what object is the confusion? Which being is the confusion? But fundamentally there is no confusion. What? Happiness is only through objects and beings. That's why we want to objectify God. God also we convert into a being. Because of this fundamental notion. What? Happiness is through objects and beings. அது சொல்லுங்க. Only அவ்வளவுதான் அச்சு சொல்லிட்டாங்க. Only. As a result of this, a constant running behind the world. Constantly running behind the world. So, even though he is practicing renunciation, contentment has not happened. So, he is saying two things. One is renunciation, second thing is contentment. What is contentment? A contentment that is minus all objects and all beings. That is difficult to comprehend. That is difficult to comprehend as a theory. That is difficult to comprehend as a concept. But then you can somehow get a glimpse of it if you understand the first in detail. What is it? Casting off all desires, casting off the hope, casting off the conviction, casting off the belief. What? There is one fantastic lecture by Ramatirtha, Happiness Within. The lecture of the title is Happiness Within. In that lecture, he traces right from infancy, right from birth till death, living in the body, clinging on to the body is happiness at one point of time. At another point of time, leaving this body is happiness. It means what? It means what? Number one, mind believes whatever is in the front, happiness is in that. Mind has taken it for granted that whatever is there in front of you, happiness is in that only. Intellect says, penetrate and see. That's why he always says that discipline for strengthening the intellect is don't take things for granted. Don't take things for granted. You start analyzing about everybody else. Why I should not take this person for granted, I should not take this object for granted, and you become more and you become more cynical, more judgmental, more angry, more frustration, and then you come back and say, intellect develop ana madri. You heard completely. You heard it wrong. That's not Krishna's fault. That's not his fault. Mind is that which takes it for granted. What? That which is in front. Happiness lies in that only. For an infant, happiness lies in the warmth of the mother. That's what is immediate. Mother takes the child and hugs, there is happiness. Warmth of the mother is not there, there is no happiness. But then he says, happiness moves on. Happiness shifts. Like how the sun shifts, he says. At one point of time, it shines over one country. After some time, it shines over. It keeps, just as the light shifts, happiness also shifts. You can see, in the flight you can see. You are flying, the light is chasing you sometimes. Sometimes you are flying, inward the light is going against you. At that point of time, for the child, happiness is in the warmth of the mother. That's all. Wealth doesn't give any happiness. Name doesn't give any happiness. Fame doesn't give any happiness. God doesn't give any happiness. Realization doesn't exist at all for that child. For it has taken for granted what? If it is there, it moves from the warmth of the mother to the toys. Now, toys is the only source of happiness. Toys is the one and only source of happiness. The warmth of the mother is boring. Correct. Boring, irritating, frustrating, which mother cannot accept. The mother will not accept that. But the child says, leave me. You can see it. You go and hug the child, it's okay. But then, how ungrateful is that child? 2 years back, it was ready to do everything up for the sake of you follow? From the toys, it moves on to the fantasies, the books. அப்புறம் ஐபேட்லாம் இல்லை, அதனால he said books. Now he will say iPad. From the toys it moves on to this. Swipe on the finger becomes small in size. It goes. No more the toys. Mother is forgotten completely. Mother is completely forgotten. From there, it shifts to something else. I am not going to the whole lecture. If you go into the whole lecture, at the end of the lecture, we will feel like committing suicide only. That's why you don't go to the whole lecture. He goes. And then he says, at any point of time, that mind is so convinced, what? If I have this, I will be happy. At one point of time, living in this body is so much of happiness. There are people who have developed terminal illnesses, excruciating pain. Happiness for that person is in when will I die? I want to, for at one point of time living is happiness, at another point of time dying is happiness, but the mind believes what? It can't go into the past and say, this is what I said before. Now, with what conviction I said that? What has happened to that now? I left it and I have come here. The same conviction I am saying about this. Over a period of time I will leave this also and go to the next. So, the first thing is what? An understanding that whatever is there in front, mind believes happiness is in that only. It will do everything else only to get that. That's why even if I go to temple, even if I go to a temple also, the focus is still worldly. For in the deepest core, what is the conviction? Happiness lies in this. Because it's so obvious that happiness is in that. Remember the example. There is no light in the moon. But then, if you are seeing the light, what to do? That's why that penetrating capacity is required. That penetrating capacity is required to understand what? That there is no light. That there is no light in the moon. What is desire? Desire is nothing but a hope, a belief, a conviction that my happiness lies in this only. So I turn completely possessive over that. So the human being turns possessive over that. The moment you turn possessive over that, everyone else, everything else becomes opponent, inimical. Yeah, they are all predators waiting to pounce on it. So you need to what? You need to protect it. First you have believed that your happiness is only on that. Second is, since it is only on that, you turn possessive over that. The moment you turn possessive over that, the whole world will become enemy. For everyone is trying to snatch it away from you. When it is snatched away from you, what is it that is actually being snatched away from you? That you are agitated, that you are crying, that you are worried, that you are anxious. Not the loss of that person, don't say that. Not the loss of that object, don't say that. It is because of your something in the deepest core is being snatched away. Yeah. That's why they say, sometimes people say that, when they are real distressed, they say, something is cut, something is like literally being torn apart. What is that? What is devastating you? Not the loss of the object, not the loss of the being. What is devastating you? Your only hope. Correct. Your only hope. Your only hope. The only hope of the child is the warmth of the mother. The only hope of it, the only hope of the boy is the toys. The only hope is the job. The only hope is the marriage. The only hope is the child. Leaving everything. The only hope now is God. And God also, just as everything lets you down, God also lets you down. After that you will not know. After you will not know what to do. Start the cycle. Start the cycle all over again. You follow? completely casts off all desires means don't immediately go to the number of desires. All desires, don't mislead by the all. All desires means you will start calculating the number of desires. It's not the number of desires. It's so fundamental. What is it? The hope. What is it? Happiness is in this. My satisfaction is in this. My life is, you are my life. You are my, yeah. You are my life. The mother tells this to the children and the children gets very, because the children's life is elsewhere. Yeah, children's life is elsewhere. My grandfather was busy weaving dreams on my father, and my father was busy dreaming. He was weaving dreams on me, and I am busy weaving dreams on my child. Never to. Poor grandfather didn't realize that in my father's dictionary he didn't exist at all. My father doesn't realize that in my dictionary he doesn't exist at all. Foolish me. I don't believe that I don't exist in my daughter's dictionary. It continues. What? The hope. What this man has cast off. What he has cast off. He has penetrated enough and understood. What is that penetration? Carefully follow now. இது வரைக்கும் ஸ்டோரி, இதெல்லாம் philosophy, இதெல்லாம் ஸ்டோரி. இதுவே நல்லா இருந்துச்சுன்னா don't bother. All this is just story, that's all. The hope itself is because of an unfulfillment inside. Here starts the knowledge. The hope itself comes from where? The hope doesn't come from an object. The hope doesn't come from the being. The hope that happiness lies there comes from an unfulfillment that is experienced inside, that is felt inside. So, the unfulfillment drives the hope. The hope in turn lights on object and being. Who is a Sthita Prajna? The Sthita Prajna is one who has understood this mechanism, as a result of which, where he has worked upon, what he worked upon, what is the source of unfulfillment. What is the source of unfulfillment? Not from object, not from being. What is the source of unfulfillment? That source of unfulfillment is desiring. The process of desiring doesn't stop at all, because the unfulfillment is so deep. He has done something as a result of which he has found fulfillment. What he has done and all we will see later. He has done something as a result of which he has found that fulfillment. That's what he says. Satisfied in the self, by the self. I will understand both how he answered the same question in two different ways. He has done something inside, as a result of which the unfulfillment is gone. The unsteady mind has become steady. The unsteady mind has become steady. The moment you bring it to a point of steadiness, mind will disappear. For mind there can't be a steady mind. I have a steady mind, Sarna. You don't know what mind is. I am exactly the same person, sir. What I was 40 years back, I am still the same even today. It means we have not understood even the basics of what the mind is. Then basic characteristic feature is it is unsteady. The moment it becomes steady, it cannot exist. It simply disappears. Oh, mind disappear aayiduna, ellam disappear aayiduna, it will become shunya, no? Will it not be like a state of shunya? Will it not be like a state of total emptiness? No. Satisfied in the self, by the self. A fabulous description of who is the Sthita Prajna, a man of wisdom, cause of all desires. That state of human affection. What is it? When all desires are gone, satisfied in the self, by the self. For the unfulfillment has gone. Where knowledge comes, where philosophy comes is here. If unfulfillment is the basic nature, if unhappiness is the basic nature, if unfulfillment is the true nature, if unfulfillment is the original nature, you can never seek fulfillment. The very fact that you are seeking fulfillment means in your deepest core, somewhere there is a hidden memory of fulfillment. Vedanta starts here. What is it? The inquiry starts here. Till the time, everything else we do is only a preparation to come to this point. You follow what I am saying? If unfulfillment is your true nature, if unfulfillment is the basic nature, if unfulfillment is the original nature, you can never ever seek fulfillment. Are you able to follow? If slavery is the basic nature, the concept of freedom itself will not exist. A slave is wanting to become free because somewhere in the past, somewhere originally, he was free. Something happened in between, as a result of which he is in this entangled bondage state, and this state of entanglement, this state of bondage is so suffocating, so frustrating. Out of ignorance, he madly chases the objects and beings, hoping that he can get back to his original state. An enlightened master comes, the Shastras come, Vedanta comes and says, your unfulfillment is correct, but you are searching for it in the wrong direction. That's all. Your unfulfillment is correct. That's why they say don't get fulfilled. Your unfulfillment is correct, but you are searching for it in the wrong areas. Change the direction. Satisfied in the self, by the self. You understand now? Satisfied in the self, by the self. This man is said to be of steady wisdom. Wisdom nale steady arna than adu wisdom. He goes on saying he is a man of steady wisdom. He is a man of steady wisdom because he is telling Arjuna, all your wisdom is unsteady. One situation, one word, one loss is enough to topple you. It means whatsoever wisdom you have or you assume that you had before that event is all illusory. You didn't have wisdom at all in the, before that event can happen, before that event, before that incident, before that loss, you are so wise, and you thought everything is under control. By the grace of God also everything is going on. That's why he keeps on saying, man of steady wisdom. Man of steady wisdom means your wisdom is not steady. Number one. Number two, it's borrowed. All the wisdom of the human being today is borrowed. Borrowed means it's not yours. Repeatedly listening has developed a kind of wisdom. Yeah. That's why if the person is really wise or not, now வீட்டில் இருக்கிறவங்கள தான் கேட்கணும். They will say whether this man is really wise or not. And what they will say, சொல்லவே வேணாம். And I keep getting reports, no? WhatsApp I am getting from the other side also, no? So I know there is no wisdom at all. It's borrowed. What is delusion? What is illusion? That which is not yours, you believe it to be yours. Correct? That is illusion. That which is not there, you see it. That which is not yours, you believe it to be yours. That's why even the religiosity that people claim is not true religiosity. It is also borrowed. What is true religiosity? What is true growth? Relatively having understood that the source of unhappiness, the source of unfulfillment is within, not because of a situation outside. The source of joy, the source of sorrow is not because of a situation outside. It is because of something inside. That term. This person has done that, went through the journey right till the end, and has reached the state of perfection. So he says, he has steady wisdom. No situation is strong enough to upset him. No event is powerful enough to shake him. He is said to be of steady wisdom. Wisdom means seeing the truth. When you have seen the truth, you become wise. That's all. Very simple. Wisdom means seeing the truth. The child sees the toys in a different way. You are wise because you have seen the truth, at least relatively speaking. Are you able to understand this example? What is wisdom? Wisdom is not scholarly. Wisdom is not eloquence. What is wisdom? Seeing the truth. Seeing the truth. The mind sees something and it believes that's what it is. Intellect says, Buddhi says, no, it can't be this. There is something hidden in it. Then you see something and then you say, this is it. Again intellect comes and says, no, this is not it. A process like Ramakrishna Paramahamsa said, a process like peeling onions. You peel and peel and peel and peel. A time comes where there is nothing left. There is nothing left inside. You follow? That is wisdom. What is wisdom means? Wisdom is seeing the truth. In relation to life, in relation to world, in relation to objects and beings, in relation to your own self, what is seeing the truth means? What is seeing the truth means? Seeing the truth means experiencing the divinity. That's where religiosity, you become truly religious. The moment divinity is what is seen everywhere, the moment consciousness is what is experienced everywhere, who is seeking what? Who is seeking what? What can be taken away from you? Or what can be added on to you? Nothing. Elsewhere is going to give the most famous metaphor in the same chapter. Apuryamanam achalap, like a samudra he says. He is going to say that. Like an ocean, from nothing can be added or nothing can be taken away. For he has seen the truth. What is seeing the truth? What is wisdom? Wisdom means seeing the truth. What is the truth? What is the truth? Divinity, consciousness, God. That is the truth. Everything else is untrue. In fact, nothing else will exist. Only divinity. That's where he keeps on saying, every human being is a God playing a fool. He sees divinity. Are you able to understand? What does wisdom means? Idallam summa detachment, desires, no joy in the world, adallam elementary stuff. That is not real. That's not philosophy. That's not the truth. What is the truth? The truth is experiencing the reality. You don't understand the reality by comparing it to unreal. That is linguistic definition. Are you able to follow? When I asked the question, all answers was linguistic. Because you understand something as real only in comparison to something unreal. This man is not attending a Sunday class. To give a linguistic answer. He is giving an answer from his direct experience. What is the truth? What is the truth? Everything is divine. All sorrow goes, all misery goes, all frustration goes, all agony stops, all seeking stops, satisfied in the self, by the self. Are you able to follow? When you start seeing that, all agony goes, all seeking stops, satisfied in the self, by the self. You can go on and on and on in this definition. For here, so deep is this definition. Only two things he says. Cast off all desires, satisfied in the self, by the self. You follow? Seeing the wisdom is seeing the truth, not linguistic. Linguistically, see, that's why knowledge is, what is it? Dialectical, opposites. Knowledge is, all human knowledge is dependent upon opposites to understand. Rich means not poor. Poor means not rich. Good means not bad. Bad means not good. Now, real and unreal is not like that. Real and unreal is not a linguistic segregation. You understand? Rope and snake. Snake is not the opposite of rope. Correct? That's all wisdom is. So all the definitions of real is not in relation to unreal. a direct cognition, a direct experience, a direct knowing. It's pratyaksha for him. The divinity is pratyaksha. He sees it now. He sees divinity, we see something else, and then with lot of effort we have to imagine divinity. Carefully follow. Our divinity is imaginary in nature. We have to imagine the divinity. We have to forcefully call something as divine. He is exactly the opposite. He sees divinity. World is what with effort he has to project the world. Can you understand what state it is? Exactly like a person living in the dream with the knowledge that it's dream. It's exactly that comparison. You follow? It's like the waker it is like you live in the dream with the full knowledge that it is dream. So in relation to the dream, satisfied in the self. You follow? It's not linguistic opposites. You don't understand reality by understanding what unreal is. For reality is not the opposite of unreal. God is not opposite of world. God is. That's why we have to use some word. Some dictionary word we have to use. It's so difficult it is. What is it? That is wisdom. A direct experience. Arjuna's question is, having experienced that, what is that? All that he is asking is what? Describe that experience, no? How nice you would have felt. That's what he is asking. For which is given an answer which is far more confusing than anything. He is saying, what is that experience? How did you feel like? How was it? When it happened? Did it actually happen? You didn't dream anything like that, no? That's what Arjuna's able to follow Arjuna's for. He is not able to conceive of a state like that can actually exist. For all the understanding of human being is in opposites. It comes through opposites. Here, it's not an opposite. For reality is not the opposite of unreal. When unreality ceases to exist, reality exists. That's why the definition of reality is Sat, existence. It exists. Stone mother, it doesn't exist. It has a chit in it. It has life in it. It has consciousness in it. The consciousness, existence, they will be ananda. It is blissful. You follow? Sat, chit. That is wisdom. Seeing that, having experienced that, satisfied in the self, by the self. What is this is the positive way of saying it. What is the negative way of saying it? Cause of all desires. You will get rid of a desire when it is causing pain. He is rid of all desires because he has understood what? He has understood he is unnecessarily holding on to a snake where there is a rope. That's all. Casting off the desires means leaving the snake. Oh, what a great man, he has left the snake and caught hold of the rope. Krishna says, it's very normal for you are doing something abnormal. You have left the rope and holding on to the snake. I have left the snake and I am holding on to the rope. Now who's normal, who's abnormal? Satisfied in the self, by the self. This is the nature of Sthita Prajna. So, to put it very simply, two distinct achievements. Sthita Prajna is one who has got two distinct achievements. What are that? First one is, mind is rid of all desires. Second one is, reveling in the self by the self. When one has done both, he is said to be a Sthita Prajna. One complements that. Mind will become free of desires to the extent you have identified with the self. As one advances, desires reduce. Upon reaching the self, all desires vanish. Seriya? Next verse.
Sukeshu vikatastraha Vidaraga bhaya krodha Sikati muni duchyate Sukeshvanodvikna manaha Sukeshu vikatastraha Vidaraga bhaya krodha Sikati muni duchyate.
He whose mind is not agitated by sorrow, nor excited by joy, who is free from desire, fear and anger, he is called a sage of steady wisdom. He keeps on saying, steady wisdom, steady wisdom, steady wisdom. This answers the question, how does he sit? How does he sit meaning, what is his inner personality? What is his inner nature? The mind that is not agitated by sorrow, nor excited by joy, free from desire, fear, anger. So the beauty of these Sthita Prajna verses is, each and every verse can be misunderstood. Each and every verse can be misunderstood. Not agitated by sorrow, nor excited by joy. ஜடம் மாதிரி உட்கார்ந்துருப்பாங்களா சார்? அப்படி ஜாயம் ஒன்றும் பண்ணாது, சாரோ ஒன்றும் பண்ணாதுன்னா அப்படி எப்படி இருக்க முடியும்? கரெக்டா? அப்படின்னா அதுக்கு இதே பெட்டர் இல்லையோ? Our point is, this is better than that. No, at least something is happening. That is simply like a jada it is. Again, every verse can be misinterpreted. Oh, this state I really don't want. Who is free from desire, fear and anger. He is free from desire, free from fear, free from anger. See, this desire, fear and anger and all, don't worry. 62, 63, he is going to give in the ladder of fall, he is going to give the complete picture. Magnificent 2 verses. The ladder of fall, desire, fear and anger. Here he is saying, he is free from desire, fear and anger. He doesn't want anything. Fear means fear of losing. The moment you claim ownership, fear is a package. It will come with it. Ownership, now you have to fear losing it also. It's a package, it will come. You can't have only ownership and get rid of the fear. How is it possible? If you have to get rid of the fear, now you have to get rid of the entire package. What is the package? The sense of ownership. Anger. What is anger? Anger, desire interrupted. Desire interrupted. You want to go very fast, there is a chair that is lying obstructing your path. You get so angry at the chair and you throw the chair, thinking that the chair is obstructing your path. You follow? A desire that is interrupted causes anger. All that he is saying is, possessiveness will make you violent. Possessiveness will make you live in fear. Anger is nothing but, what is anger? What is anger? Desire interrupted. It's violent. That's why anger is an attitude to destroy something. You have to destroy the interruption. Destruction is violent in nature. That's why one of the first spiritual discipline is ahimsa. Practicing desire, possessiveness creates two deadly qualities. One is you become violent. Most of the times you don't become violent physically. Because if you become violent physically, the other also will give you one in return. So you don't become violent physically, but the violence is at the level of the mind. Violence is at the level of the mind. Himsa, causing the attitude, the intention to cause himsa. You don't see it like that, but nevertheless anger is nothing but desire is interrupted and you are ready to do anything to get rid of the interruption. So possessiveness does two things. What are the two things? It makes you violent, it makes you insecure. These are the two words, fear and anger. The language of the philosophy, the language of poetry is fear and anger. Since we are not so familiar with the language of poetry anymore, we have to replace it with some other words. What does it mean? Violence, insecurity. You feel so insecure. That's why it's true. When two people fall in love, they constantly spy on each other. They spy on each other. You know why? Insecurity. Where love is supposed to bring security, it brings about a tremendous, it's not love, it is possessiveness. Love doesn't bring insecurity. It is, what is desire? Possessiveness. So he is free from desire, fear and anger. Now replace it with three words that we are more familiar with now. He is free from possessiveness. He is free from insecurity, free of violence. That's why he is soft in nature. That's why he is so soft. He is so attractive. He is so, because that softness, there is no violence. Violence is an attitude of causing destruction, because it is interfering with your desire. Possessiveness makes you violent. Possessiveness brings insecurity. These two is the reason for your mind to keep wandering all the time. Sitting here, the mind is wandering everywhere. If you carefully analyze to what area it goes only to these two again and again and again. Your areas of the possessiveness, which will manifest as insecurity or violence. What is possessiveness? Desire is nothing but possessiveness. Desire is the necessity to call something as mine. Ownership. You have to call something as yours. There is this deep urge in every human being to call something as mine. Yeah. If you don't have any human being, you have to hold off an object and say, it is mine. If you don't have an object, if you don't have any being, you will catch hold of a disease and say, it is mine. All the time talking, thinking about only because you have to say, something is mine. And when that goes, something is cut. Yeah, something is cut. You follow what I am saying? That mineness. So, he is free from desire, fear and anger. He is free from the necessity to call something as mine. He doesn't have that necessity. He doesn't have the urge to say something as mine. For why he doesn't have the necessity to say something as mine? Connected to the previous us. Satisfied in the self? By the self. Where he has seen the divinity, where he has seen the truth, what is he going to call as mine? Mineness indicates the timeline of past, present and future. In the past it wasn't yours, now it is yours. In future it's not going to be. Are you able to follow? It functions over that entire timeline of past, present and future. Divinity which is there everywhere, all the time. It doesn't have that necessity to call something as mine. But then, ignorance is to call something as mine. The moment you call something as mine, two things comes as a package. The moment you develop possessiveness, two things will come as a package. What is the two? Fear and anger. Replace it. என்ன வார்த்தை சொன்ன? நானே மறந்துட்டேன். என்னப்பா சொன்ன? Violence and insecurity. That comes. Not knowing that the violence and insecurity is there, the person says, I am very happy, I am very contented, everything is fine. A wise man says, you are not at all fine, it's there. You are sitting on the time bomb, about to explode, and you say, I am fine. Free from desire, fear and anger. The first thing is, whose mind is not agitated by sorrow nor excited by joy. Both this sorrow and joy, both joy and sorrow are so interconnected. The recognition of joy is because of the erstwhile sorrow. So, in sorrow, you are preparing yourself for the next joy. In joy, you are preparing yourself for the next sorrow. Correct? For your recognition of joy is in relation to the erstwhile sorrow. That erstwhile sorrow is because of the previous joy. he is above both. He is above both means he is no more experiencing anything that is oscillating, vacillating. He is no more. He is not that mind is not. It is not moving. Movement of the mind is always in opposites. Mind moves from one extreme to the other extreme. And don't misunderstand the movement of the mind from one extreme to the other extreme as growth. For example, if you overeat, the very act of overeating itself will make you to fast at some point of time. The very fasting itself will make you to overeat. But to be in the middle and eat, to be in the middle and eat the right means he is not affected by the mind. You follow? The mind moves from one extreme to the another extreme. Mind only moves from extreme to the other extreme. When it is moving to one extreme, it is gathering momentum to go to the other extreme. That's why elsewhere he compares mind to the pendulum of the clock. The pendulum of the clock. When the pendulum is moving to the right, don't get misled by that movement. It's moving to the right only to gather enough momentum to go to the left. When it goes to the left, it's not going to the left. It's gathering enough momentum to clear. That's what the mind's nature is. Here he is saying his inner nature is entirely different from your inner nature. Your inner nature is moving into extremes. His inner nature is fixed, steady. Able to follow? Your inner nature, the ignorance man's inner nature is moving into extremes. His inner nature is to be steady. How to practice that inner nature? That's where elsewhere he said middle path. Middle path. He is following what? He is following what is his inner nature? Middle path, comma, no possessiveness, no insecurity, no violence. This is his inner nature. Again I repeat. What is his inner nature? Middle path. Yogarato va, bhogarato va, sangarato va, sangavihinaha. Yasya brahmani ramate chittam nandati iva. Nandati eva. Yeah, that's what we have already. Can be in yoga, he can be in bhoga. All this is of the external. The external doesn't touch his internal. In your case, the external affects the internal. There is no cushion. In the ordinary man's case, the external affects the internal. In the wise one's case, he has that layer. His spring action is very good. His cushion is very, very good. As a result of which, the external doesn't affect the internal. By virtue of what the external is not affecting his internal, middle path, comma, no possessiveness. Since there is no possessiveness, there is no insecurity, there is no violence. And if you look at every human being, you can see exactly the opposite. The external, he is affecting the internal. Number two, extremely possessive, as a result of which constancy in fear constancy in violence. Clear? The violence can be in thought. The violence can be in word. Rarely it comes into action. Yeah. For if you get violent in action, the other also will respond back. You give one tight slap, the other also will give. So violence is not so much in action. It is in one day. I will also get one chance, no sir? For what? To tear him apart. God will take care, no sir? Means what? God will punish him, no? Violence in nature. This is violent nature. Exactly the opposite of violent nature is compassion, love, identification. Are you able to follow now? It's all so interlinked. All that you need to do is just use the right words. You will, right words nu solla kudadu. Krishna is not using the right word. I would say you have to use grosser words. For grosser words makes it more clearer. He is very poetic in nature, so he is using words of poetry. Possessiveness leads to insecurity and violence. The external doesn't affect the internal. How does the external doesn't affect the internal? 24/7 middle path. Yogaratova, Bhogaratova. Kama. That is his internal state. Second, no possessiveness. As a result of which there is no insecurity, there is no what is violence? Attitude to cause harm. That is violence. An intention to cause harm. Simha என்ற word உல்டா பண்ணலாம், it becomes himsa. The word violence comes from the word himsa comes from the root simha. You don't know Sanskrit. This is Sanskrit. இதெல்லாம் சும்மா I am showing off what I know, அவ்வளவுதான். சும்மா இதெல்லாம் சும்மா நோட் செய்து விட்டுரும் போதெல்லாம். Otherwise when will I show off what I know? It is that an intention to cause harm and relishing the harm that is caused. அதுதான் violence. இவ்வளோ நாளா வாங்கினே இருந்தேன் சார். டுடே relishing an intention to cause harm and relishing the harm that I have caused. இந்த மாதிரி கரெக்டாலாம் இருந்தா God சும்மா இருப்பாரா சார்? That is why they are in jail now. Relishing the harm that is caused to somebody else. So crude in nature, so violent in nature. This man is exactly his inner nature is exactly the opposite. He is so that compassion. That's why all the wise men, their face are painted with that compassionate look. You can't see that venom in the venom in the eyes, the venom in the words, the venom in the action. They don't, because there is no violence in them. Because of what? There is no possessiveness. You can't be practicing non-violence and be extremely possessive. That is not possible. You can't keep your possessiveness and ask for how to be free of insecurity. That is not possible. For it is part and parcel. Possessiveness is nothing but violence and insecurity. This man doesn't have it in his inner nature. What is his inner nature? He is not saying compassionate. He is not saying loving. He is only saying what you have, he doesn't have. Are you able to understand? He could have straight away said, he is compassionate, he is loving. No, he didn't say that. What you don't have, what you have, he doesn't have. What he has, correct. Shankar, correct சொன்னேன் இன்னைக்கு தான். You don't என்ன சொல்லிருப்போம் நினைச்சிட்டு பயந்துட்டேன். I don't have நட்டார் கரெக்டா. You don't have that. பார்த்தாலே தெரியுது. The external is not affecting the internal, meaning middle path, no possessiveness, as a result of which no insecurity, no violence. This is his inner personality. What is the description of his inner personality? This is the description of his inner personality. And the answer continues. How does he walk? How does he speak? How does he walk? 2 more questions, 2 more answers. That comes later. Seriya? Yes.
Can you help me trace that violence and insecurity because of possessiveness?
Possessiveness is mindness. Possessiveness is wanting to claim an exclusive ownership. What is possessiveness? Something has to be exclusively. That's possessiveness. Are you able to follow? What is possessiveness? Some object or some being or a combination of some objects and being has to be exclusively mine and only mine, and no one should cast a கண்ணே வைக்கூடாது. அதுதான் இல்லையா திருஷ்டி பற்றும் இல்லையா. No one should even cast a glance on that, and then you put all the drishti in front to make sure that no one casts the possessiveness. Possessiveness is an exclusive ownership. This should be exclusively mine. Exclusively mine means somehow turn the other into my slave. That's all possessiveness. Somehow an attempt to turn the other into my exclusively mine. Na, I decide everything. No. If I say stand na, the slave has to stand. If I say sit na, the slave has to sit. That's all possessiveness. An exclusive wanting to possess something exclusively. Exclusively means it has to be only mine, and no one should glance at it. Number 1. Number 2 is somehow I try to keep it unchanging. Somehow I try to keep it permanent. That's why the second thing is what is the most dangerous. The second thing is the most dangerous in possessiveness. Somehow I try to keep it as mine permanently, all the time. Not realizing that I myself has changed. My mind myself has changed. My desires themselves have changed. But still, I try to desperately keep it as. You follow? One is, no one should glance at it. That's not a real problem. The real problem is, or a deeper problem is, somehow I try to keep it permanent. Status quo. It has to be, that state has to be there. What? Love me. Love me only. Love me only forever. அது எப்படி நடக்கும்? Love way difficult. Love me only is far more difficult. Love me only forever is impossible. இல்லையா? கரெக்டா? You follow? This is called possessiveness. Possessiveness is an exclusive ownership. That exclusive ownership is because of what? A deep sense of unfulfillment inside. That lacuna inside. Something is missing inside all that time. And desperately believing that by holding on to it, that unfulfillment can be gotten over. Are you able to follow the root of it? The void can be filled. It all starts from the unfulfillment, the void inside, the unfulfillment inside. There is an unfulfillment inside. The misunderstanding is it can be fulfilled through some object or being. Since it can be fulfilled through that object or being, I want to desperately cling on to it, hold on to it, and not allow anyone to come anywhere near that. Like a dog barks, it barks, no? If anyone comes near, like that the human being is also barking all the time. Even dogs don't bark the way that dogs, Rupa will get angry. So I have to say, how can you call it as a dog? One day she was fighting. The dog has to be called a dog, know what to do now. I'm a tiger, something. That exclusive ownership. Because of the void. That's how it is connected. Is it okay? Yes. Void and ignorance is one and the same. Not knowing the true nature, not knowing one's original nature is ignorance. That's the void. Okay? You had something. I didn't mean anything, it's just a word. It doesn't really mean anything. For you can't see it like that. He is experiencing, that's all. In the previous verse, satisfied in the self by the self is seeing the divinity everywhere. Now seeing that divinity is not a superimposition. You see the world and then somehow you try to convince yourself that it is divine. You see the snake and somehow you are trying to convince yourself that what you are seeing is a rope. But in the deepest core you are convinced what? It's a snake. You follow what I am saying? In this man's case, it's not the world is seen as divine. Divinity alone exists. Seeing the divinity means understand it like that. Divinity alone exists. But then, what about all this? He says divinity alone exists. What about all this? Na? What does it mean? This is also divine. The person sitting in front is also divine. The person agitating you so much is also divine. The person causing harm to others is also divine. The person who is passive and suffering is also divine. So, one divinity causing harm, another divinity is suffering. It becomes meaningless. You follow what I am saying? So don't try to take it linguistically. Seeing divinity everywhere means divinity alone exists. Else, everything else ceases. Everything else disappears. Everything else vanishes. That state is called satisfied in the self by the self. Okay? Next week.